Hello, hi. So very recently I shot this commercial for India Mart. This video is essentially me breaking down the process and the idea behind why I chose a certain look and how I did it. Let's start with watching it once. So this guy Mungeri Lal is sitting at his home on a Sunday morning playing saxophone and he gets a call. He replies every question asked in the call with the tune being played on that instrument. And that goes on, and that's the basic idea of the ad. The ad has essentially two setups. One of this guy playing saxophone, and other is the guy sitting in front of curtain playing tabla, who is on the video call in the ad. We'll have to start looking at the location, trying to find these two frames. One, the guy playing saxophone, and the other is guy playing tabla. So, as the guy playing tabla comes inside a phone, it's better to have as less distractions as possible in his frame because the frame already is cluttered enough by the phone and the tripod holding the phone. And second is the guy playing saxophone. Most of the times I try to get a frame where I can get maximum amount of depth, so we see how big the place is, and depth also enables us to add layers in between. How a look gets created in a frame is through the colors of art and props, through the colors of costume, and by creating bright and dark spots in the frame that bring attention back to our subject. But if I look at my current location, the walls are white, the floor is pretty light in color, and even our costume is going to be white. So, what are we left with? We are left with colors of light essentially. We'll have to play with colors of light to create a look. One plus point about our frame is there are a lot of pre-installed practical lights at the location. What I did is I added more CTO gels over the practical bulb, which also helped me dim them down and make them look a bit more warmer. I can use this as these practical lights as the bright spot in the frame, and now I need to make the ambience a bit darker so these lights do stand out. Second reason why we also need to make the ambience a bit darker is his clothes. As we have chosen white color clothes for him and there'll be ray of light falling directly on him, it's better to have a darker ambience for him to stand out and not merge in the background. For the second frame, we chose a frame with just curtains in background and had him seated on the floor. And we used the light from the curtain as motivation and wrapped it around him from both the sides essentially. After looking at the location, what we had to do is get a few references. We knew the references were a bit brighter than what we are going to do because our location comes with lot of practical lights. I'll bifurcate the lighting for each setup into three parts. One is the character light, second is the practical light, and third is the ambience light. Let's start with the character light for this main frame. We have a key light coming in from the left side of the frame. I had a Arri M18 and there were two layers of diffusion. One was 6 by 6, 8 by 8 actually, 8 by 8 grid cloth, and then there was a 4x4 diffusion paper just in front of light between the grid cloth and the light. This was the key light, but I also tend to create roll off, a very good roll off, so I had another sky panel which was kicker on the key side, and then between the sky panel and the key light I had a joker light which was a hard light, 150 watt light spotted just on his clothes and cutting off from his face because I would not like his skin to shine. Apart from that, we would also like our warm ambience to fall on his body as well. So there was a sky panel on top which was at a very warm color temperature, I think 2200 or something like that, and that was falling just on his head. So here are few behind the scenes stills, and this is how our setup looked. There was key light, and yes, there was a fill on his face from a RGB tube which was just there so his face doesn't get very dark, and there was a negative on right, a full black cloth, I think black cloth or two black flags, something like that, and that were all the lights we had for the character. In terms of practical lights, there were a row of practical lights already installed at the location. We were very lucky to have them. What I did is just add a CTO gel directly on the bulb, which made them a bit more warmer. We did this so the sunlight coming from outside looks a bit more cooler and there's some amount of chromatic contrast. In terms of lighting the ambience, there wasn't too much. There was one sky panel in between the hallway around this library area, and there was a diffusion cloth under it, and this was also set to very warm. I didn't want to make the extreme background very bright because there is a ray of sunlight falling on it, and this sunlight came from another ARRI M18, and there were some sort of cardboard cutouts in front of it which made it in the shape you see, and there were few brush stroke of light on the floor. You can see this behind the scene image, and that was pretty much it for the ambience light. The tricky part about the setup is when we shot it, it was around 5 p.m. to 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. and at this time the light was changing very fast and a lot. So when we started shooting it, there were 2 layers of muslin cloth behind these curtains to diffuse the sunlight coming towards it and make it very soft, very gloomy. And on the left we had a complete black flag. We didn't let any light come in from the left. And on the right there was our main key light. For his face we had 2 ARRI M18 and there was a big 8x8 diffusion in front of it. We got 2 just because we had it on the set from previous setup. One was on the edge, the one on the side had bit more intensity as compared to one which was a bit more frontal. And then behind him as a kicker we had a Kino Flow which was way more closer to him, and in between that there was another Joker which was just falling on the tabla, which didn't make any major difference on the scene lighting. And then the left side had some black flags, and the left kicker there was a sky panel kept on a low base just to wrap the light a bit more from left side, so it's not just a heavy key and it doesn't look very fake, because if there's a curtain behind him there will be light wrapping around him from both the sides. But this was the setup. So if you see the look of this frame, there's no major chromatic contrast or a wide range of colors being used into this frame. It's mostly all warm with a bit of slightly bluish light coming into the frame, and there's this blue photo frame on the right. If I wanted, I could have flushed in different colors of light here and there and just force the look onto the image, but I felt that was very unnatural, so I didn't do that. And I personally like the look because it is true to the location and it's true to the frame. I believe the art, how it changes from indie to commercial, is that indie art is pretty clean. You come straight to the point, you see your subject and there are no distractions, and it is very nice but it's minimal. And what's commercial is the ability to incorporate a lot of things and still have them arranged in a way that it looks beautiful is the beauty of commercial stuff. If you see RRR, there is a lot of details and it's done in such a nice way. It's choreographed in a way that it looks beautiful. So when you light for commercials or shoot commercials, what you need to do is make it filled up, have a lot of highlights, and still those highlights are not taking away from your main content, main topic, and it looks beautiful. It look commercial. It's called the commercial look now. First of all, thank you so much for staying until this point in the video. If you have any suggestions, any questions, my comments are down here. I don't make videos like these very often, but I hope you found it to be informative. And I stay more active on Instagram, so you could possibly connect with me on Instagram. My handle is at the rate shot by Anish, SHOTBYANEESH. Once again, thank you so much.